You are an ant, and something feels slightly off. Not wrong enough to stop, not wrong enough to turn back. Just slightly off, in a way you can't quite place. You keep walking, because that's what you do. A few days ago, a microscopic spore landed on your body while you were foraging. You didn't feel it. You had no way of knowing. By the time it had worked its way inside you, it was already too late. Not because you were dying, but because something else was now living inside you, and it had its own plans for where your body was going to go next. You find yourself climbing, but you don't know why. You've never climbed this particular plant before, and nothing about it makes sense for a foraging ant. But your legs keep moving upward, and the part of you that would normally question this is no longer in charge. You reach a leaf about 25 centimeters above the forest floor. Exactly 25 centimeters, as it turns out. And your mandibles clamp down onto the central vein. You hold on with everything you have, except that it isn't you holding on anymore. You are an ant, and something else is wearing you. The fungus responsible for this is called zombie ant fungus, scientifically known as Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, and it is one of the most sophisticated parasites ever discovered. It belongs to a broader family of fungi known as cordyceps, which collectively infect hundreds of different insect species across the world. Beetles, moths, spiders, caterpillars, each strain adapted specifically to one host and one host only. The zombie ant fungus targets carpenter ants in tropical rainforests, and it has been doing so for at least 48 million years. We know this because fossilized leaves have been found with the exact bite marks left by infected ants, in the exact position from tens of millions of years ago. This fungus has been perfecting its system since before humans existed, and it shows. What makes the zombie ant fungus genuinely unsettling is how it achieves control. For a long time, scientists assumed it invaded the ant's brain directly. The reality is stranger. The fungal cells spread throughout the ant's entire body, surrounding the muscle fibers and hijacking them mechanically, essentially bypassing the brain entirely and controlling the muscles directly. The ant's brain remains largely intact throughout the process. It just no longer has meaningful control over what its body does. Researchers believe the ant may retain some level of awareness during this process, unable to override the movements being forced on it from the outside in. Heat-climbing behavior and the precise biting height are not random. The fungus steers the ant to a location with the exact temperature and humidity conditions it needs to grow and reproduce, conditions found consistently at around 25 centimeters above the rainforest floor on the underside of leaves facing north. Once the ant bites down and locks its mandibles in place, the fungus kills it, takes over the body entirely, and begins growing. Within days, a stalk erupts from the back of the ant's head and releases spores onto the forest floor below, where other foraging ants will walk through them and begin the cycle again. Ant colonies have adapted to this threat over millions of years. When a worker ant begins displaying the erratic climbing behavior that signals infection, nest mates recognize it and physically carry the infected ant away from the colony before it reaches a plant, reducing the risk of spore exposure to the rest of the group. The fungus and the ants have been locked in this evolutionary arms race for so long that both sides have developed increasingly sophisticated responses to the other. It is, in a very real sense, a war that has been ongoing for 48 million years with no end in sight. Now, if the cordyceps family represents the most controlled and precise form of fungal manipulation, the zombie cicada fungus, scientifically known as Massospora, represents something far more disturbing. It targets cicadas, and unlike cordyceps, it doesn't just steer its host, it replaces it. Massospora spores are ingested by cicadas emerging from underground, often before the insects even realize they've been exposed. The fungus grows inside the abdomen and begins consuming it from within, eventually replacing the entire rear section of the cicada's body with a dense plug of white fungal mass. The abdomen, including the reproductive organs, is gone. What remains is a living insect with its front half intact, walking around on a body that is now mostly fungus. And it keeps going. Cicadas infected with Massospora don't stop moving, don't stop trying to mate, and in many cases don't appear to register that anything is wrong. The fungus produces chemical compounds including psilocybin, the same psychoactive compound found in so-called magic mushrooms, which researchers believe may suppress the cicada's normal pain and distress responses, keeping it active and mobile long past the point where its body should have shut down. An infected cicada will attempt to mate with other cicadas, spreading fungal spores in the process. It will continue to do this until there is simply not enough of it left to function. The fungus has effectively turned its host into a spore-spreading machine that doesn't know it's already dead. But if you thought that this was it, you are completely wrong. There is another type of fungus, the fly death fungus, scientifically known as Entomophthalma muscae, that operates on a similar principle to cordyceps, but with one additional layer of manipulation that makes it stand out even among parasitic fungi. It infects houseflies and common blowflies, taking control of their behavior in the final hours of their lives and steering them to elevated positions, window frames, plant stems, the tops of walls, where they die in a specific posture with their wings raised and their abdomen tilted upward. This posture is not accidental. It maximizes the surface area from which the fungus can launch its spores, and the elevated position ensures those spores travel as far as possible when released. The fungus kills the fly at dusk, when air currents are calmer, and spores are less likely to be dispersed randomly, and when other flies are beginning to seek out resting spots for the night. The timing is not coincidence. It is the fungus choosing the most effective moment to spread. What makes Entomophthalma muscae particularly disturbing is what happens after the fly is dead. The fungus releases chemical compounds from the corpse that mimic the pheromones of a sexually receptive female fly. Male flies are attracted to the body, attempt to mate with it, and in doing so, cover themselves in spores. The fungus doesn't just kill its host and spread passively. It actively uses the corpse as bait to infect the next generation of hosts. If you've ever wondered why a fly sometimes seems to be sitting unusually still in an unusually exposed position, now you know it might not be resting at all. What connects all three of these fungi is something that should genuinely change how you think about the word control. None of them use venom in the conventional sense. None of them overpower their hosts through force. They infiltrate, they manipulate, and they repurpose living bodies for their own reproductive needs with a precision that took millions of years to develop. The ant climbs to exactly the right height. The cicada keeps moving without a functional body. The fly dies at exactly the right time in exactly the right place. There are over 1 million described species of fungi on Earth, and scientists estimate the true number could be 10 times higher. The 3 fungi in this video were discovered and studied largely by accident. Because their effects on insects were visible enough to notice, how many others are out there manipulating hosts in ways subtle enough that no one has spotted them yet is a question nobody can currently answer. The rainforest floor where the zombie ant fungus operates contains more unknown species per square meter than almost anywhere else on Earth. Whatever is down there has had a very long time to get good at what it does.